Spokenly, I haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed of that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I haven't dreamed of waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I held up that cape for the last time.
Return to Cape Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andy N's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spokenly. Hi, it's Andy N from Spoken Label. Thank you today for streaming or downloading another episode of Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up on beginning of 2016 and as of speaking has currently nearly 300 sessions. The full archive is available on Spoken Label bandcamp.com. Although it is available for free for stream and download if you wish, I am always grateful for any sort of kind of donation to enable me to keep the running costs of this podcast going. And enjoy. Take care. Bye bye. Spoken Label.
Hi guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house. We're on Zoom again today, and I've got a recommendation today. I love recommendations. Kudos to Clive Osmond for this one. He recommended this lady to me, and I'll let you introduce herself in a second. But she's got plenty to talk about here today, definitely. So, Chloe, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody? Obviously,
Sure.
tell them who you are, and obviously, I want to learn about your background in France, because you just told me that, which I didn't know about. And we'll start from there.
Hi, my name is Chloe Jacquet. I am a poet, spoken word artist based in Cirencester. Like we were just talking about, I am half French and half English. So grew up in France. That's where I started writing as a kid. It was sort of, I think, the thing that got me the most into poetry was Roald Dahl's Revolting Rhymes. Which
yeah.
I got given a cassette tape of it and I listened to it. I mean, I can still pretty much recite them off by heart. It was so fun and the rhymes are amazing and it's cheeky, you know, he's messing around with classics and fairy tales and whatever. And I thought that was brilliant. And yeah, that got me into writing, but it sort of didn't really go anywhere because it wasn't particularly promoted. Your own creativity wasn't promoted in the school system that I was in, so it sort of went aside, which was a shame, but you know, dabbled a little bit. And then I like to perform, so I was doing some amateur dramatics and all that. And then I discovered slam poetry, at which point I was like, oh wow, I can combine two things that I really like. And so I gave it a go and started writing things and entering slams, and it went quite well.
Yeah, you were telling me before, weren't you? You started off originally back at the back end of 2015 with this, really, didn't you? So
yeah, I lost my job, and so suddenly I was between jobs, and I had 3 months, and I had time, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, right. So I've written a couple of bits. I'm going to head off to some open mics, and I mean, I was terrified.
as you are first time, yeah.
My God, I always have so much respect for anybody who's, you know, going for the first time. Yeah, so I went to a few open mics, gave things a go, and then into the slam, and sort of got the bug from there, really.
Yeah, it's never gone away. Now, obviously, I know I'm going to touch on obviously what you said. I know if you know from your bio, so we'll touch on a bit of this. But I know originally you did win the 2017 Oxford Hammer and Tongue Slam Champion, didn't you?
I did, yeah. That was
that's a mouthful to have, that one.
Yeah, the Hammer and Tongue circuit is sort of the leading slam circuit in the UK. I suppose there's like regional slams, and then I I sort of qualified for their area championship by entering a slam at the Cowley Road Festival in Oxford. I was working in Oxford at the time, won that, which qualified me for the regional final. And I went and I won that, which was incredible.
Wow,
but that meant,
brilliant.
Yeah, that meant I qualified for the National Slam, the Hammer and Tongue National Slam finals at the Royal Albert Hall, which was a very overwhelming experience because I was unbelievably nervous. I did all right. I got to the semi-finals of that, which actually was pretty amazing.
Oh, that's excellent. No, the way I always look at it, if you get to that sort of stage in anything major like that, you don't. Yeah, my opinion, it doesn't matter if you win it or not. The fact that you can say you've got to the semi-final, that's something going.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I was really proud. I was unbelievably nervous, but then I managed to qualify again the following year, and I was really glad about that because I wanted to go back and do it again, knowing what to expect. And I reached the semi-final. I had to go through more rounds to get it. It's just the way it's, because I wasn't a regional champion. I had to do more rounds to get there. So I did a lot of poems, but it was one of those amazing, slightly out of body experiences where everything goes amazingly well. Like you're in the zone and you're in the moment, and it was unbelievable. That was like one of the best experiences of my life, and I don't think you can top it. That was incredible.
Oh yeah, no, completely. I think it's when you're doing stuff like that, it's like you're looking next, thinking, where do I go next with creativity like that? And
yeah,
there's a common myth gone now that I think you're going to agree with me in this one. Is like you peak sometimes in the state which done something like that. You think, how do I top that? But I think as creative people, there's always ways of doing it, isn't there? Really, so.
I think so, and I think that is it is something that I really struggle with. Despite the achievements and despite all the things that I have done, I am always doubting myself. I am always second guessing myself. I am always comparing myself to others. But I think that's where creativity comes from, because if you're always thinking like that, you're always going to be seeking the next thing, always pushing yourself to discover something new, to try something new, to write something new. And
yeah, that's what I'm a firm believer in that. I was telling you before about I love the haikus, and I hadn't even wrote a haiku to lockdown last year.
Really?
Yeah, and I've done nearly 2 books of them now. It's just, I think there's that. It's where it goes. Like I said, I think over lockdown, it's give us challenge, isn't it, to look at things in different ways, and you keep pushing ourselves as artists.
Yeah, and I think it's a blessing and a curse, because creativity is such an important outlet, but equally it can really hurt if you're going through a dry spell, or you're having a moment of self-doubt and you go to an open mic night or whatever, and there's all these people who are very prolific, and I am not a prolific writer, so that's something that I really struggle with all the time. I love to write and I want to write, but it's often not there, and if I try and force it, it comes out so crap.
Join the club. That's all I'm going to say there.
Yeah,
I've got books of rubbish knocking.
Right, like so much stuff, or even like you write down 4 lines and you're like, no, there's no point. This is terrible. Or I'm trying to sound like somebody else, and I'm envious of somebody else, and that's it's like this constant internal struggle of like, I haven't written anything in 2 months. Does that mean I'm crap? Because you very quickly forget that past body of work, don't you? You're always looking for the new thing, but it doesn't work like that, sadly.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It comes naturally. I think writing and creativity is always an organic process anyway. It's like, I think, and I also believe it, there's always a tons of crap among before you get to the good stuff.
Oh God, yeah. You have to write the crap, and then amongst it there'll be that speck of gold. But yeah. And it's interesting what you were saying about the pandemic, because for me, actually, it's a barrier to creativity, because I had nothing to say. Like, everything was like, it was just really confusing. Like, what's going on?
I think it's gone that way for everybody. I think it really has.
No, some people have had loads of time and had loads of inspiration, and the time has been beneficial for them because they've been able to use that time for the creativity that normally other things have got in the way. I just blocked massively. I have managed to unblock it, but I went through such a massive dry spell.
No, I can believe you that straight away. And it's like you were telling me obviously before, and obviously we can lead into this naturally now, can't we? Look at this now for leading about your book that came out in lockdown last year.
Yeah, so I've got this book that came out called Take It by the Line, and it's published by Black Eyes Publishing UK. And we were working on it before the pandemic, and we sort of thought, well, let's delay releasing it because, hey, who knew how long this thing was going to take, right? This pandemic. But then, ultimately we realized we couldn't keep holding off. We didn't know how long this thing was going to last. I mean, we had no idea it would be over a year now.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, released the book during lockdown.
Yeah. Now, obviously, as I always like to know when people start talking about books and stuff, where did the title for the book come from?
It comes from one of the poems within it, which I'm hoping to share with you later.
Wicked.
The poem is called The Dealer, and one of the lines is "Take it by the line." And yeah, I don't want to give more away because you'll hear it in the poem. But
yeah, we'll say nothing else about that then. Okay, over the book then. Was the book quite a long process to write then? Because you were not writing very quick.
So I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't writing specifically for the book. It was a case of I got to a point where I felt I had enough material to put together a collection. And so I approached Black Eyes Publishing UK, and we worked together. And it wasn't the easiest thing for them because, to be honest, I came with way too much material because I get very close to everything that I write, and it's hard for me sometimes to sort out what's good and what isn't, and what might not work within the collection because I formulate personal attachments. Because obviously it's very personal stuff that you've written, so I had to work with them a lot to figure out what was worth putting in, what fitted in, and what we should leave out. And a lot of my work is geared to an audience rather than page poetry. That's just the way I write. Mostly what I write is for a stage. Is sort of I'm more. I mean, it's all poetry, but spoken word rather than page. So there we had to adapt as well. There was quite a lot of editing required so that it was as good as it could be on the page, so we could sort of transpose that experience of hearing it on a stage, but when you're reading it on the page.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about that because there is obviously, I think, a big difference between actual straight page poetry, straight performance poetry. And I know you can get the hybrid, and that's where your case would have been, is obviously trying to get the level right where it crosses over into both markets, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, and obviously you can perform poetry that's from a page, you can read it, and equally you can read poetry that is meant for an audience, but I like to use props in certain poems. I sort of write from the point of view of a character sometimes, which you can do a lot with on a stage. So then you have to make sure that there is enough within the text, if it's on a page, so that the reader is going to be able to visualize how that could look.
Yeah, they'll straight away get you meaning that straight away. So brilliant. Okay, now I want to ask you, I'm going to change topics now, but I'm just interested because I've noticed looking at your Facebook page and Chloe J poem that you read out a slam in New Zealand recently.
Yeah, that's the joys of Zoom, isn't it?
Yeah. Now I'm going to obviously ask you about experience of Zoom in a minute, but I've heard about. I think it's the same night I've heard about. There were a couple of mutual friends of ours about this night in New Zealand. So tell us the experience then of basically, I presume, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to read, was it?
No, actually, it wasn't so bad because it's British summertime here. That gives us an extra hour. So it started at 8:30 British time, I think.
Oh, that's not too severe.
Not bad on a Sunday, so that's okay. And the slammers had to be on for sound checks and stuff half an hour bore to 8. So that's not so bad. In the winter, it's an hour earlier, so that's a little bit rougher on Sunday. But it's very interesting because it's their evening. So there's people there, you know, having a glass of wine or whatever. And for me, it was obviously breakfast time. That was a bit weird. Like, oh,
Yeah, remember I say you couldn't have a glass of wine that time in the morning.
no. But yeah, that's the joyful thing. The one positive thing about these Zoom events is that you can go places that you wouldn't obviously in real life, and that brings a whole new level of accessibility. Even within your same country and your same time zone, you know, it sort of removes some of the barriers that disabled people have to face in terms of traveling, venues, the accessibility of venues, and or people who might be nervous about going out on their own or whatever. Suddenly, you can do all these things within your home.
Yeah, it's changing certainly, because I know two poets, one that's deaf and one that's also he's in a wheelchair, and it's made life a lot easier for both those two straight away. It has, and it'd be interesting to see if lockdown lifts and it goes back to some kind of normality. What happens next, really, isn't it? So, which I think is a funny one at the moment. So,
I think some events are hoping to either be able to do both or somehow hybridize so that you could project the Zoom audience, you know, have a screen or something so that there are Zoom participants as well as the live participants and have the two, which I think would be fantastic.
Yeah, I do as well. It's good luck to people doing that, definitely. So now, obviously, it's hard to plan at the moment, obviously, for yourself, where your writing is going to go. Obviously, we've been more primary performance poet. Do you envisage if lockdown lifts, do you be out touring your book properly then? Or
yeah, I'd like to. We did an online launch, which was fab because again, it was on Zoom, so there were people who were able to attend who wouldn't have been able to if it was a live event. But when you go and get feature slots at live gigs, it's very easy for somebody to come up to the poet afterwards and say, I really like what you did, can I buy your book? Whereas on a Zoom thing, you're relying on people remembering to then later on log in and buy your book or whatever. And I'm hoping, well, I am lined up for WOMAD Festival if it happens.
Oh, brilliant. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. It's a festival I always wanted to go to, WOMAD, definitely.
Oh, it's fantastic. And I'm so looking forward to it. It was supposed to go last year and hopefully this year. But those
When is it? Is it August that nowadays, WOMAD?
Late July. It's late July.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, very much. But the joy of festivals is that you get people who aren't there for poetry, but walk past and they're like, oh, this is interesting. Or, they're a bit hungover on a Sunday morning, so they think they're going to sit at a quiet spot and then they get to hear some poetry. So you get the non-poet crowds, which are my favorite. I love non-poet crowds because I love to show people how great poetry is, especially people who think they don't like it because they might have had a bad experience at school or just got bored of Shakespeare or all that.
Oh, definitely. No, good luck with definitely with that. So I know what you mean. Up here now, we've got, obviously my partner and Amanda, we've had 2 offers coming already for open air festivals. We're going to do only small ones, but they're still great to do. So yeah, and we both said already, like it's going to be like last time we performed live was February last year for us two. And it's it's going to be terrifying. So we'll see on that one.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm really nervous about. It's the first live gig I do is such a big festival as WOMAD, and I've had no practice before that. I'm going to go to pieces.
Yeah, same thing. I'll be honest with you, I'm worried about that myself, actually. We've got bits and pieces coming up, but we're used to doing it on Zoom now. But if you how you're looking at people's eyeballs, it's just going to be played strange.
It's very different. So I think maybe I might just have to go to the local park on a Sunday and just start shouting poetry at people just so I can practice delivering to an audience without
just start ranting at all the dog walkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Come listen to the poetry. Because I don't want to go in there having not done anything live. Yeah.
Well, good luck with it, definitely. So, right, well, that's pretty well covered all my questions, Zoe, anyway, to be honest with you. So, right, to conclude then, obviously, if people want to get hold of your book, first of all, where are the best going for it?
So the best thing is to go to my website, which is chloejpoetry.com, because that's directly through me and I can sign it. And that's obviously better, but you can go to any bookshop and ask for it. Take It by the Line by Chloe Jacquet. Alternatively, all the online retailers and online bookshops.
Yeah, all good. I'll always say in some podcasts, all good and evil news sellers or bookshops.
All good ones and all evil ones. Yeah, you can find it. But yeah, the best thing is my website.
Brilliant. I know you've got a page on Facebook as well. I've been referring to that during this podcast. So I could tell people that's Chloe J Poem. You look for that on Facebook as well. So
yeah, Chloe J Poetry.
Yeah. Oh, poetry. Oh, my eyes are going. Poetry. Getting old.
It's the same across all the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So it's not, and the website, so it's not complicated.
Oh, that's all right as well. Okay, well, that's it on this side, Chloe. It's been brilliant today. Thank you for this. I know you're going to do some poems for us next, aren't you now? So I'm going to let you take a break. We'll be right back, guys and girls. See you all in a minute.
Spoken.
Okie dokie. Straight over to Chloe. She's going to do some pieces for us. Go for it, Chloe.
Right, so this first one is from my book, and I mentioned it earlier. This is the one called The Dealer. This has props. There's a video for it actually that you can see on my website and my social media. But so I'll leave it to your imagination on the props. Hey, psst. Hey, you looking for a fix? I've got some of the highest grade shit. Come over here. Seriously, it's some of the finest gear you'll find on the street. It's pure, not cut, 100% neat. I'll do you a deal. I'll do it for cheap. You look like a discerning customer. Tell me, what is it you're after? I've got the stuff that will blow your mind. The trippy, psychedelic kind. It's called Allen Ginsberg. You take it by the line and I guarantee you a bloody good time. If you're bouncing off the walls and you feel you need a downer, or you're having issues with your father, a touch of Sylvia Plath under the tongue is the dose you're after. If you're the kind of person who likes to booze, a shot of Dylan Thomas is what you might choose. It will be like there are words dancing in your ear. Or perhaps you'd like a bit of Shakespeare. You can swallow one sonnet for that warm, loving feeling, or two for a bit of that Midsummer Night's Dreaming. But don't take any more, the come down can be brutal. I knew this young couple that were left suicidal. And if you do feel like you're drowning, a huff of Stevie Smith will have you waving and back to raving. Now, don't be such a cliche, I don't have any Molly, but I do have some Holly, McNish. That'll show you reality like it really is, and chances are you'll want to get naked. If you want to dance to the beat of a London street, try a bump of Kate Tempest. Sure, it might make you feel sad or stressed, but I promise you'll no longer feel repressed. Over here, I've got some rupee core, if something a bit more instant is what you're looking for. Now, this is the Moscow Wild. Does what it says on the tin, it's far from mild. I even saw this chap once hallucinate that he was in a handbag as a child. For a similar effect, if you're planning a road trip, a dab of Chaucer inside your lip, and it'll be like you've got company. You'll hear loads of voices talking funny. Or for something just as effective, but a little bit cheaper, what I have here is the open mic regular. Now, this is one you can directly inject, and it's hardly likely to show up in a test. So, what do you want for your next fix? Don't worry with these, you can pick a mix. Basically, all of this can take you on an unbelievable trip with no sweating, no gurning. There might even be some learning. Sure, it might make your brain swell, but that's from all the extra grey cells. So, do you want to buy some poetry? It might just make you see the world differently.
Tremendous. Excellent stuff. I knew about that piece. Clive was going on about that one to me, was the one I spoke to him. So is that when you do longer sets, that feels like almost like a piece you start sets off with that one, really?
I do. I like to.
Yeah, you can tell.
especially on Zoom, it works well because I'm not on the screen and then I suddenly appear, and then, like I said, the props is like poetry books in plastic baggies.
That's on the goes of your Facebook page, your website. I've seen those pictures knocking around, so that explains why.
Yeah, I did a film of it with a producer, director, poet lady called Stephanie Cobban, and we've submitted it to film festivals, and it's had tremendous success. It's had, I think, 8 film festival nominations. UK, America, Greece, Germany. I mean, it's doing really well. So that's very
Really, no, congratulations, well done with that straight away. So, okay, we better get you moving on now. Then, not maybe been all night otherwise.
Absolutely. Next, I was going to read this one. We were talking earlier about the pressure we put on ourselves, and how I have a terrible tendency to compare myself to other poets, and poets who write beautiful lyrical stuff with amazing imagery that I'm sort of more straightforward in a way. And so that's based on this, and it's called I Want to Write Poems. I want to write poems just like them, with imagery infused with so much beauty I lose the meaning. Like, she was the silk woven in the trees, and my heart was a carriage full of carnage. When I glanced at my palm, it was glistening with silence. And you, all you could do was turn your back on your leg, whilst the spatulas stood singing their chorus of blood. I dropped to my knees onto the accordion, its sigh ripping right through my sellotape. My shoulders nothing more than a fridge with a faulty light. Dawn brought with it clouds of bargain basement pain in which I lost my entire self. No, not just myself, but you too, for your toweling had become the melancholy union of womb and spreadsheet. And if I cannot be salt, then how can we be free? I must resign myself to my MOT, for only then will you truly see the magic of your own turquoise.
Oh, that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, that.
It's beautiful yet silly.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where I've got the emotion in. I also like the silliness in it as well. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I get, these people that write beautiful poetry, I just get lost in the words and I lose all the meaning, and so I sort of went the other way.
I like it. My sort of style. Like, definitely go for the tangent to catch people out.
Yes, I like a surprise. So the next piece I wanted to do, I wrote for International Women's Day, but I feel like it shouldn't be limited to a day, and it's called I Am Woman. I am woman, and today is my day. In that time, I might not get to go to school, but I will be a child bride 33,000 times. That's once every 2.5 seconds. My genitals will be cut 8,219 times. I will be trafficked 2,200 times. I will be sexually assaulted 411,000 times. I will be murdered by my partner or a family member 137 times. When countries are in conflict, my body will often be used as spoils of war. Today, I will do 16 billion hours of unpaid domestic and care work. I will spend 110 million hours collecting water. Chances are I won't be allowed to own any land, and I probably won't have a bank account. When I do work, my wages will be about 20% less than a man's. I will have less than a quarter representation in government. On this day, I will birth 385,000 babies. I will die every 2 minutes doing so. I will have an unwanted pregnancy 331,500 times. I will have an unsafe abortion 68,500 times. I will die 82 times in the process. As someone said, who runs the world? Girls. Who ruins girls? The world. But you already know all this. None of this is new. You've given me one day. I have work to do.
Brilliant. Again, no, that's really powerful, indeed. So I'm reading a book at the minute, made me think of that. By the Empire magazine journalist Helen O'Hara, called Women versus Hollywood. And that touches a very similar ground to that. I said that's more like the way women were treated over during the early days making films. And it made me think a lot of that then straight away in a different way. So yeah, I can well imagine that took you a while to write that, because I could see by the figures you were quoting on it.
Yeah, a lot of research. I mean, I've got all the sources. It's all UN Women and sources like that. But yes, it took a long time to get all the data right and figuring out a lot of yearly data, breaking it down to a day. So
yeah, sometimes it's that something I like it. People you do poems like that because you can tell that the emotion has gone into it by the research. You can feel it from your words you're bringing out. It means a lot to you.
And I want it to be exact and scientific, and these are the facts. Because yeah, I found it would be very powerful.
It works. That most definitely works at that one. So excellent. Okay, did we say 4 or 5 pieces today? I don't know.
Well, I've only got one left.
Yeah, one's great.
That's fine with you. This is possibly the poem that I am the most proud of. In those days, you know, when we were talking earlier about self-doubt and all of that, when I'm having a bad one, I'm always like, nothing I've ever written is any good except the courtroom. The courtroom is good. Then I remind myself that the other stuff is good too, but this is the one that I am the most proud of. So to finish off is the courtroom. Thank you so much for having me, by the way.
Bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you must find my client, the defendant, not guilty on the counts of grievous bodily harm and aggravated robbery. We are about to prove that it was not the fault of the accused that she robbed the jewellery shop and that the owner got shot. Of course, I do sympathise that the owner was terrified when she aimed the gun between his eyes. Prosecution went into great detail about how he no longer feels safe working in retail and he can't sleep at night and wakes up in the fright at the slightest noise. But, ladies and gentlemen, he had a choice. Ask yourselves this. Why was he open so late? Doesn't that feel a bit like bait? Why would he put himself in that position? Opposing counsel say he's trying to earn a living, but if you ask me, he might just have known exactly what he was doing. I'd go so far as saying that he was asking for it, and we are only here because now he regrets it. Case in point, he chose to put all his best, most enticing stock in his window display. There is no better way to say, come and get it, you know you want it. That, right there, was provocation, a downright blatant invitation. It was all out there for all to see. If he didn't want to be robbed, he should have had more modesty. So I am sure you will all agree that that proves consent to the robbery. Furthermore, ladies and gentlemen, it just boils down to estrogen. Girls will be girls. Prosecution claims this was a disturbing act, but it is a fact that girls are drawn to things that are pretty, such as jewellery, that it has nothing to do with greed and is actually a biological need. Therefore, to take it is their right. So there isn't even a crime here to indict. Finally, dear members of the jury, it would not be in the interest of justice to find the defendant guilty. It would ruin her career prospects and put an end to her sporting prowess. She is an accomplished athlete, and the sentence would mean she can no longer compete. And hasn't she already been punished enough by being dragged through this ludicrous trial during which she has been defiled and which for her has been exceedingly tough? She's been vilified on social media. She can't go out without people shouting at her. The guilty sentence would be too high a price to pay for 20 minutes of action anyway. In summary, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you cannot blame a lady for wanting to take jewellery that was put on blatant display late at night. So you must do what is right. You must reject this so-called victim's fanciful claims that he now finds himself at pains to live a normal life and that everything is all struggle and strife, as my learned colleagues have eloquently argued. And you must be more shrewd. He wanted it. He was asking for it. It was not my client's fault for taking it. Therefore, she must be acquitted. I rest my case.
Fantastic. Great way of finishing that off, that one there, Chloe, straight away. Now, obviously, people will know me, and I'm not going to go into more details on that about the day job, but I can see that one pretty clear. I'm not going to go more details. But no, that's excellent. That was really, really vivid. And I like the satirical nature of it as well, to be honest. You could touch in a few bits and pieces there. So, yeah, fantastic. Been a great session today, Chloe. I've really enjoyed this. So,
well, thank you for having me. So have I.
Been a pleasure today. Thank you again. Now, hang around because I need to speak to you off mic. Anyway, a couple of things I need to go through. But thank you again. It's been fantastic, this one.
Thanks.
Take care, guys and girls. I'll see you all soon.
Spoken Man.